What's goody, bros? It's your boy, Reckless OP, coming to you live with another build video. In this video, we're going to be getting into my brand new Techno demolition build that I've been working on and how I have the shrapnel hitting for over 1.5 to 2.5 million damage, guys. Yes, this build is incredible. As you can see here, I'm taking care of this mob, and as you can see, it's hitting for 1.5, yes, 1 million. Guys, this build is unstoppable. Check out the video. I hope you guys like it. Please, if you can, leave a like and a subscribe. Check out the build video as we get into it. This is your boy Reckless OP. I'm gonna leave you with some game footage so you guys can check out the build, and then we'll get into the build, guys. Let's get it.
Archways of
Do you want
the two dogs at the end and two broods.
I know.
You want to try? Okay.
Yeah,
On
let's
14,
go.
yeah?
Yeah, 14. Like bring this guy to 12.
Okay. He did 14s with us already.
Yeah. But I mean,
Let's get it, guys. Let's get into the build video. So this is the Techno demolition build, guys. And in this build, we're gonna start off with the weapons. Absolute Zero, it's the AR of choice in this gun build because we're using this as a CC ability. Ultimate freezing bullets. Shots inflict freeze on enemies for 1 second. We're using also Fortress. Receive up to 43% damage bonus based on your armor. We're using Fortress because it stacks with AP and it also stacks with your weapon damage. So this is a very good mod to have in a skill build. We're also using the Anemoy. We're using the Anemoy only for the reload talents, Moaning Winds and Radiation Splash. The key talent in this build is reload Radiation Splash because reloading causes a small explosion that inflicts vulnerable and deals 122k damage to enemies within a 5 meter radius. This talent is underrated, guys. Vulnerable, it lets you do 15% more weapon damage, or I think it is 25% more weapon damage to the target. So vulnerable is a very slept on status effect. So this is why I use it so much. I've been using this for a very long time. This combo is unstoppable. It's perfect, guys. So also we're gonna be getting into the build. The build we're focusing on is torrential downpours. Torrential downpour. Scrapnel creates an additional cluster bombs after explosion, each dealing 107 anomaly power and skill damage. That means that every mine that we use, our shrapnel, it also has extra 4. So it has an extra 4 explosions every mine. So as you can see, 1, then 4. So this is what we're using. We're focusing on that damage output. So for example, our main mine is hitting from anywhere from 700 to 800k, and the little mines are hitting from anywhere from 200 to 400k. If you add that up, that's about 2.5 mil damage per mine, per seeker, per shrapnel, you can say. So we're stacking that with our buffs in our class that we're gonna get into. So let's get into it. We're stacking anomaly power on every piece. We're also stacking skill life leech and cooldown reduction. We're also stacking a little bit of status power. As you can see, we have 60% on the build. We have 30% from the gun, and we have 30% from one piece. But ideally, what you want to do with this is you want to run this leg. I'm not running these legs right now because I haven't found the boots that I need for this build, because as you can see, the boots have max health, so it's really not necessary to me. I'm just using it to proc the three piece equip talent, which is torrential downpour. But what you really want is to run this, because this is going to make you tanky. Circle of Power is a beautiful talent. It gives you 45% resistance on this build, and in this build we have 30% resistance, so it will give us we have 20% resistance, so it will give us 55% resistance, and resistance makes you very tanky, guys. But I'm gonna show you the way I'm using it. I'm using it with damage absorber. I'm using it with damage absorber, right? Because for example, we're using a couple talents that once we proc, as you can see, this turret procs our skill damage. Then every single time I throw shrapnel, it pops my defensive talent, which raises our armor to 180k, which gives us physical damage reduction of 77%. So this is like, for example, like having emergency stance. Like, it makes you very tanky, this build, because we're using this. We're using armored unit. Activating Ordnance skill increases your armor by 50% for 15 seconds. So we're stacking armored unit with our damage absorber, which damage absorber gives us 50% armor also. So you calculate that. That's 100% extra. So we're at 180 with these talents. But let's get into the talents, guys. Captain Hunter is an issue. You need Captain Hunter on your builds so you could be able to melt the elites and be able to destroy them quick and easy. So that's the first mod that we're using, Captain Hunter. We're using more traps. Scrapnel, one additional mine can be thrown before triggering the cooldown. That's just so we can have more DPS, so we can have more mines, and we can have more shrapnel. Then we're using Trap Cluster. Doubles the number of mines that can be thrown before triggering the cooldown. This is essential. You need this chest piece for this build, because this build, without the chest piece, you would only have 3 mines. You understand? Without that talent. With this talent, I'm able to have 6 mines, 6 shrapnel. So that makes us give out more DPS. Then we're using Shatter, guys. We're stacking on this build. We're stacking 3 main components. We're stacking resistance, we're stacking health, we're stacking armor, and we're also stacking freeze damage. Why? Because this is a CC build. We're CCing with our gun, and we're also CCing with this talent, guys. This talent is called Icicle Storm with Cold Snap. Killing enemies frozen by the skill makes them explode, dealing 250k damage in 5-meter radius. 5-meter radius. This is why we're stacking this talent, guys. Every time we cold snap and we freeze everybody around us, that's when I start letting go of all my secret mines, start getting that damage, start getting that extra explosions that stack up with the Icicle Storm. Because every time they proc the shrapnel, then those 4 bombs, plus that extra explosion from Icicle Storm. That's 3 sets of explosions. Then my 4th set of explosion is from my reload attack, which will be the Moaning Winds, which that's my 4th explosion. So that's how we're stacking explosions on this build, guys. And also, we're using our turret, we're using ice component. The turret now inflicts freeze instead of toxic. We're using this for our CC ability. So we have 3 ways to freeze people in this build, guys. We're using ice component with our turret, we're using our turret, we're using our cold snap, and we're using our gun to freeze enemies, guys. So that's ultimate CC. Then we're using our shrapnel and our moaning winds and radiation splash talents as our DPS, guys. This build is incredible. The synergy is unstoppable. We're also using the freezing boost. So we have 15% here, we have another 25% here, and then in our class we have another 10%. So we have a total of 50% extra damage against enemies that we freeze. Let me show you what stats I'm stacking in this build. We're stacking max health. We're stacking the armor, guys. Increase your armor by 20%. With damage absorber and this talent, this makes you tanky, guys. This is what I'm testing right now. This is what I'm using. You could also go this way. You could go right here and get 20% max health and get the extra resistance if you want. You could go this way also with these 3 extra stats. The reason I chose these extra stats is because I'm using my turret as free, so I do not need the toxic abilities down here. But if you want to use the toxic, you could use the toxic, and you could roll the toxicologist, you could roll the decay toxin, and you could also roll the one that's over here, the increased toxic damage by 20%, if that's your way of building it. But the way I'm building, I'm building straight into my freeze and straight into my shrapnel. So we're stacking anomaly power, we're stacking our skill cooldown for our shrapnel, and we're also stacking some resistance, some armor, and some max health here. But what we're mainly stacking is the freeze damage, which we have 10% here. We have 10%, we have 25% on our chest piece, and we have 15% more on our gloves. That's 50% damage against frozen enemies. And guys, the whole time that we're in the field, these enemies are all frozen, guys. Max health, skill life leech, cooldown reduction. We need to get boots with anomaly power. Remember, guys, you need boots with anomaly power. You could run at least 2 pieces with status power, and then every other piece you could just go skill life leech, so you can have at least that 30% skill life leech, which works perfect with this build, guys. So that's the synergy of the build. That's the way the build is working. That's everything that we're using. Let's get into our skill cooldowns. As you can see, we're getting our Scrapnel back every 9 seconds, guys. We're also getting our cold snap every 17, our blighted turret every 4 seconds. The synergy of this build is you throw your blighted turret so you could get that 30% extra anomaly power. Then you start throwing your shrapnel, you get 50% armor, and then you cold snap so you could get those explosions going. And that's the synergy of the build and how it's going, guys. As you can see in the class talent, we're using Tech Bomb, activating ordinary skills, increases anomaly power by 50%. We're synergizing that with the turret, guys. So the first thing you should throw as soon as you get in the battlefield, you throw your turret, then you cold snap, and then you start hitting them with your shrapnel, getting all that damage output. One of the talents you need is the one that I said, the Circle of Power talent. Guys, this talent makes you very tanky. That's another way to set up this build. I'm using Damage Absorber for now till I get the boots that I need for the talent. There's also another talent that's on a helmet, which is on the skull helmet, the one that gives you more anomaly power, the more elites that are on the battlefield. That's another talent that I imagine will make this build hit extremely harder, guys. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. I hope you're enjoying the Outriders content. If you can, leave a like and a subscribe, will be greatly appreciated. It's your boy Reckless OP signing